I'm Holly Tucker and I founded Not on the High Street back in 2006. I've since founded my second business, Holly & Co, that's dedicated to supporting those on their business journey through sharing my insights and the lessons that I've learned. I truly believe that doing what you love for a living is the key to happiness. But guess what? It is not easy running your own business. I often equate this journey as an epic roller coaster with huge highs but many lows. But what I want to encourage you is I want you to make sure that you enjoy this journey as much as you can. Us founders can be in a bit of a hurry and don't often think about the milestones that we're hitting. I started Not on the High Street from the kitchen table with my co-founder Sophie, and we had this huge vision, but this business model required us to scale. Now, I learned the hard way what scaling means. You know, it means sacrificing more than you'll ever believe. It means that you have to make incredibly hard decisions. And there is no business book for the risk that you have to take. But there are some golden rules, things that I know to be true. So over the next 15 minutes or so, I'm going to share with you my top 10 tips in scaling your business. So, number one, what does success look like? Now, I know it seems like a very simple question, but my goodness, have you actually really asked yourself that? Many founders that I meet have never asked themselves that. They know they want to grow their business, they know they want to scale it, but to what extent, I ask? And it is the single most important question that any founder can ask themselves. Because what does the end, if there is one, look like? Is it Necker Island? Is it actually bringing your children into the business? Do you plan to sell your company, or would you like to retire within it? Understanding what success looks like for you will determine every single choice that you make along the way. How do you fund your business? How do you grow it? And it will shape everything. So this is a fundamental question that you have to ask yourself. Having learnt my lesson when I decided to start Holly & Co, I was very clear on what success looked like for me. Everything from the sort of holistic journey, which is that I have decided that I will retire at 90 years old, to actually the scale that I require to get to that point. So for instance, I've made a risky decision by taking some premises on the high street because mine is a longer term vision. Do ask yourself, what does success look like for you? Because it will determine whether you turn right or left at every point in your journey. Do not underestimate the power of answering that question. Tip number two, nurture your culture and values. If there's one single thing that I would say is a golden rule for the whole of your scaling journey, it is to nurture the beating heart of your company, the people who make up your company. This doesn't change whether you're, just on the start of your scaling journey or if you have 1,000 people. Culture and values is the invisible glue that holds it all together. Now, humans, we're complicated things, as you probably know, which means that we're very, very unique, which actually means that your culture and values have to pull very unique individuals together on a shared mission. When scaling, there is no doubt that you will need to increase your headcount. And we're going to talk about ways in which you can mitigate taking on that headcount to start with. But ultimately, you will need to do that. Now, whether that's 10 people or 1,000 people, it just takes, and believe you me, I know this, one wrong hire, I would say, to set you back 1 year. So how do you ensure that you get the right people? Well, it just boils down to having a phenomenal culture. Yes, that is the sort of, as I said, the invisible glue. It's the heartbeat. It's the colour of the business. It's what people talk about when they're down at the pub. It is that thing that holds people together and allows you to attract the unbelievable talent that is out there. A strong company culture, it means that you can weather all storms. And this is certainly something that I know to be true. Clear values and culture allow you to really understand the company, whether it is an employee that has been there with you for a while or someone that is very talented that wants to join you. If you can pull together the whole team into one set of feelings, one set of ways that we work, one set of behaviors, I cannot tell you the power of that team. And it's just been one of these things that I have learned along the way, that businesses that I see with no culture and values are quite obvious to me. They already are on rocky grounds. And so make sure, even though this is something that will fall to the bottom of your priority list, because of course, sales and money and cash, they all go to the top of the priority. But believe you me, when the chips are down, your culture and values will save you. Tip number 3, lose your ego. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, you know, number 1, ego isn't necessarily a bad thing. As a founder, you've got to have it. If you don't have ego, you're the Duracell battery of your business. If you don't believe in yourself, then, you know, things are not going to be easy for you. But what I mean by this is long gone are the days where success equals headcount. Okay, so in some circles, some dinner parties, it's all about the largest square foot office. It's all about how many headcount you have on that salary bill. But actually don't get sucked into that. Don't let your ego get in the way with how much you need to scale and exactly when you need to scale. Biggest is not the best, okay? Now, the smarter you can work, the better. The longer you can have the lower head count, I suppose, the better. This isn't about working, though, your skeleton staff through the night, no. But this is about being very, very smart with who you need, what you need, and it is precisely what time you need them. It is not about taking on the debt of having a huge head count when you maybe only need it seasonally. If you ask the team to actually break down what they did every single day, right now, if you just stopped this video and you went, right, what are you all doing? I bet you there's 25% efficiencies that could be made in everybody's role. So I want you to think about automation. What could you do? That simple task that maybe one of your colleagues is doing 2 hours a week, can you automate it? Could you build another 8 hours a day through all your team at the moment? Well, that is one person, if that was repeated every single day, that you might have gone and hired, but actually you need to look at who you've got and what they're doing at this point in time. The quicker you're scaling, the more headcount you're bringing on, believe you me, the more inefficient things are. Do look at what you have before you take on more people into your team. Tip number 4, watch out for the wave. On the flip side, hire the right people at the right time. I often describe it like a crest of a wave. You can literally start to feel the pinch point. Sometimes it's tears, your own. It can be colleagues. Sometimes it is a bad aura and feeling within the office. The late nights are now repetitive every single week. Weekends are being worked by all of your colleagues. It is your job as the founder, your job to hear that crashing wave and where it is breaking. That, and I always think about this. This is something that I've learned along the way, and I always bring my management in on this point. Basically, it's your responsibility to keep an ear to the ground, to keep the dialogue open within the teams and really identify when those moments are happening. And they're pretty obvious when they actually do happen. But let's not beat around the bush. To hire people, it is expensive. People are always your biggest investment, and rightly so. They are the magic of your business, and yet often the cost of hiring skilled people can be prohibitive. A few tips I have here is, do think about your recruitment process. Can your customers be your next employee? Do you know someone that can handle the recruitment process for you, which can take an enormous amount of time for a founder. Obviously, I'm not meaning interviews. You need to, be in every single interview across the board. But absolutely, is there someone else that can do that sort of legwork of sifting through all the applicants? And also remember, outsourcing to a third party will allow you to quickly sort of scale, but also reduce that capacity of staff if you have a seasonal business. But when you see that crest of the wave where it's that breaking point, you must have your ducks in a row, so to speak, on hiring. Make sure you hire the right people, have the right process, and have the right criteria, and bring on the best talent that you can afford. Tip number 5, innovate. Absolutely. Things might be looking great. The growth rate is going through the roof. The sun is shining. The money is flowing. Everything is on track. Be warned. Never is the sun shining for a founder. There is always rain around the corner. That is your point of difference to your company. You are the one looking ahead. Never put your face in those sunbeams, because actually it's your job to be looking for the rain. And the rain comes along when you stop innovating, when you stop moving that dial forward. Without innovation, your company 100% will not survive. And this is something, again, I see along the way where people get caught into what's working best at the moment. The sales are going through the roof. That product will sell for a longer period of time than actually it will. And we can get caught into a moment, as I said, of sun. But we live in a world where everything is moving fast, that our customers are demanding more and more. And actually, it is your job to bring them delight and surprise the customer. Regardless of your sector, it is your job to keep surprising people. And actually, that is the beauty, I suppose, of being a founder. And if you're watching this and you call yourself an entrepreneur, this is something that probably I can't stop you doing anyway. This is what gets us out of bed to keep moving the dial forward. But never forget that if you are not innovating, if your business is stuck in just the day-to-day, I promise you there are rain clouds ahead. So you, as the founder, as the entrepreneur, it is your job to always carve time to innovate. It is your job to keep pushing the business forward, nobody else's. And then the sun will always shine. Tip 6, quality over quantity. Never compromise on your product quality or customer service in a bid to scale. Retaining your loyal customers, I would say, is the secret to success in scaling. You will be fighting a losing battle if you are trying to acquire customers at the rate that you're losing customers. You know, one of the biggest mistakes that I have seen over the years, and I've seen it everywhere, and I have actually done it myself, is focusing in on acquisition and not enough on retaining loyal customers. A customer that truly loves you, and I mean truly loves you, is the person that's talking about you in the playground, at the pub, recounting their last purchase to a friend. This is the customer that you want to hold on to. They are your biggest advocates, and they return and keep on spending money with you, even when your competitors come knocking on their door. You know, bringing lost customers back to your business is an uphill and incredibly expensive thing to do. Now, don't get me wrong. It is all about acquisition, and certainly in those first years. And of course, scale requires you to acquire to actually make them into loyal customers. But I would love you not just to focus on that acquisition number. I'd love you to focus in on the quality of your customer and the quality of their behavior, which is so crucially important. You must focus on something other than just being the cheapest or the fastest, because again, this is a race to the bottom if that is your only USP. A single focus, an almost tunnel vision on the quality of your customer, on the quality of your product, and the quality of your customer service will ensure that your business is here for the future. Tip number 7, cash is king or queen. There is no doubt about it that there's nothing that will stop your business in its tracks, and it's bloody painful as well, than running out of cash, the fundamental bedrock to any business. And I've been there, done it many, many times, and we all know how painful it can be. So, of course, there's a wealth of information out there, but I just thought I would give you my thoughts on this. First of all, you need to look at your sales and cost savings as almost the same side of the coin. You can be making all the sales that you want, etc., but actually, if your costs are starting to get out of control, your headcount is too high, you're not being efficient, then actually, again, you are basically working incredibly hard and losing the fight. I always will think back to my days at Not on the High Street, where some of my first sort of conversations with my team was, why were we buying real post-it notes when actually we could be buying Viking's own made post-it notes with a saving of 50p per packet. I tell you that as a funny story, but that is the point. We were on our journey. It was very, very tough to make every single sale that we were making, and so let alone wasting money at the same time. Once you have strong sales, once you have your admin and your housekeeping and your costs under control, it's going to be all about that first question I gave you. What does success look like to you? Because ultimately, just like scaling with people, cash is another fundamental point in your business that you will need. But how are you going to get that cash? Now, if you've answered that question right at the start of this, then you'll know which route is right for you. Is it going to be crowdfunding? Is it going to be hiring money with is it going to be crowdfunding? Is it going to be getting money from an angel investor? Is it going to be going to venture capitalists? Will it be that one day you want to float the organization? Or is it a loan from friends and family? If you haven't asked that question at the beginning, you will not know the right way to gain cash if you're needing extra external money into your business. Each option has its pros and cons, and you need to make the right decision for you. And if you're a woman, you need to not be scared of cash, seeing as that women seem to have the imposter syndrome when it comes to gaining money to increase your scale. So I really want you to think about this because there are so many more options than, let's say, I had in 2006 when starting Not on the High Street. Without the right knowledge to guide you, that is where you want to go, you could make the wrong decision, what is crucially one of the most momentous decisions that you'll make in your business. But please don't be scared. As I said, cash is king, cash is queen. Tip number 8, amplification is the new word for marketing. At Holly & Co, we don't typically call it marketing and have rebranded it, as I said, amplification, because basically we have deemed that marketing nowadays can be done across most of the team and that everyone in the company has to be involved. Now, don't get me wrong. Yes, of course, you need to have your digital marketing expertise to deal with SEO, PPC. You need to have social media expertise, video. You need to have press expertise, all of these sorts of things. But actually, by calling it a marketing department, you slightly start to put the emphasis that just one group of people are responsible for this. And in my experience, that is where you are losing the efficiencies and the opportunities of your team. Remember, your team are the biggest ambassadors for the company. And also remember, as I said to you before, your customer base is your marketing team. They could be your greatest fans if you just let them. Word of mouth still today is one of the most powerful marketing tools that you as a business can have. But how do you turn your customers into those brand ambassadors? Well, what are you doing to surprise them? How are you delighting them? How are you personalizing the experience to make that customer, as I said, your biggest fan? Do you give them a code on their birthday? Do you run focus groups and actually ask their opinion? Do you bring the customer along for your journey? Do you remember that customers absolutely love to see what you're doing to scale. So don't hide this from them. Be open and vulnerable. And I'm telling you now, that is the fastest way to get to their heartstrings. Emotional commerce, another sort of top tip there. But what are you doing to bring your customers along? What are you doing to bring your team along to become the extended marketing department? Remember, if people believe in your brand, if they love their brand, they will want to tell everybody. It's just up to you to give them the means to do so. Tip number 9, know your targets. Targets are essential and should be basically the first thing you look at in the morning and the last thing that you look at night, and how you're faring against them. They can be qualitative as much as they could be quantitative, and create targets that resonate with your team. I can't underestimate the importance of that. Don't use acronyms. You put the targets into English, into fun language. Bring targets to life. Make them accessible for everybody on the team, and that way they can feel that they can hit them. And celebrate reaching them. As founders, I suppose, when we hit a target, we're already thinking that we could have done better, and we're ready to actually just press ahead and move forward. Do remember for your team, it is crucially important, and I talk from experience, having done both, having been so driven and I just missed every single milestone and pushed the team, so they never felt that they were actually being rewarded or had a moment to celebrate the milestone along their journey. And I've done the opposite, which is actually really take a pause on moments that we have actually got to, that we've climbed Everest and we're there and that we're winning. And I will tell you right now, for your culture, for your values, for the energy within your company, it is certainly important to really take that moment and focus on your wins. Make sure you have targets. Make sure you're incredibly close to them. Make sure you dissect them and bring them to life for the team, and never ever bury your head in the sand. And my final tip, tip number 10, is prepare your mindset. You're on the most extraordinary journey, and it's exhilarating, it's exciting, and at times it's completely petrifying. But it is the journey nonetheless that you are on, and you are the captain of the ship. Never underestimate your energy and what it gives your company and it gives your team. Yes, we take on the greatest responsibility in that role, but we also have the most opportunity and, exhilarating ride that very few have. I want you to ask yourself, though, the hard questions. Put people around you that can ask you the hard questions. Make sure you create a support group that you can lean on as you scale. Scaling an organization, it is fast, it's furious, it will have your emotions up and down. So it's very, very important that you yourself don't feel alone. Scaling your business can also make you feel incredibly alone at the top. So I want you to make sure you prepare your mindset for this journey. It takes passion, doesn't it? It takes risk, it takes determination in the belief of your product or service. But I know that you can do it, because that's why we're here. We want to build something that can change the world. It's not for the faint-hearted, but you know that. And what a ride it is. I wish you everything. I wish you luck. I wish you happiness. I wish you growth. I wish you scale. If you ever need me, you can find me on Instagram at Holly Tucker, where I write every single day about my insights, my lessons, and my life at the moment, scaling a business. So you'll be in safe hands. For now, though, thanks for listening.